Welcome back to Switzer on Australia's Business Channel. Okay, risk versus return is a classic conundrum. And with Mike Smith today predicting a soft outlook ahead for 2013, it might be time to get into more defensive investing mode. So, to take us through the ins and outs of creating a fixed income portfolio, I'm joined by Brad McCosker, Director of Markets with FIG Securities. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good.
Great to have an old ex-student of mine on the program.
Yeah, you corrupted a lot of people, Peter. I was one of them. So.
Yes, that's right. A lot of those people have gone on to be quite good in their corruption fields as well. All right, mate. So you're actually in a good space. There are a lot of people out there giving, the fixed income portfolio the big tick of approval. We've got David Murray, former CBA boss. You've got Ken Henry, the former treasurer. They're all saying Aussies have too many exposures to equities, therefore let's have it in fixed income. But I reckon a lot of people aren't comfortable with fixed income apart from term deposits. Is that your take as well?
It is. It's only an Australian anomaly, right? The rest of the world, fixed income is the largest part of anyone's portfolio.
Yeah.
And it's only in Australia, maybe because we love the punt or whatever, we love shares, but the rule of thumb usually is to have majority of your asset allocation in fixed income, and for most people that rule of thumb is your age should be the percentage of your allocation into fixed income.
Okay, just give us an example. I'm 50, for example.
So then 50% of your total portfolio should be in fixed income.
Yeah.
Right? And the rest would be divided by shares and properties.
So when you're 30, you don't have 30%, and you're more exposed to the equity markets as you get to 50. Okay, that's an interesting rule of thumb. But in Australia, it's not that way.
No, and I don't know if you remember back in the 80s, you had the Aussie bonds and things like that, and then in the 90s they kind of disappeared, and we had demutualisations, we had the Telstras, and like you were mentioning before, and CBA, they all got floated. So the government had its own agenda, and equities became really popular.
Yeah.
And the fixed income market became really difficult to access. And it was only...
the corporate bond market is terrible compared to the Yanks. They can buy IBM bonds and whatever pretty easily, can't they?
Well, the access to the corporate bond market is terrible. The market itself is great.
Yeah.
So, and that's where FIG really stands alone. It's very unique in that it provides access for everyday investors and like guys who watch your show in order to have direct ownership of the bonds in their name. Where otherwise they wouldn't get access to it.
How do you do that?
Well, they break down the bonds into parcels down to about 50 grand.
So you guys buy large amounts and then subdivide it?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's one way to put it. A property analogy for bonds.
Yes, right. People would like that. They would understand that. Okay, mate, you brought a number of charts along. Because the name of the game was, I'm going to get you on a fairly regular basis to explain the bond game. Because if Ken and David are right, we need to become more comfortable with bonds. But also you have to prove to us that the returns are worthwhile doing as well.
Easy, mate.
Well, let's go with the first chart.
Which chart have we got here?
Oh, where's that?
Oh, look at that. That's not a chart.
Okay, it's not a chart. I guess these are the key issues. You've got age, minimum capital needed to maintain your lifestyle, minimum income, no liabilities, risk appetite, capacity to earn income, to supplement losses, diversification, liquidity, return.
Yeah, so they're factors to consider in a bond portfolio, right? Yeah. So I suppose again, we talked about age before, but think about your bonds. You're getting money in every year or every 6 months, right? They call them coupons, but it's basically just money in, right? So you've got to work out, and this they should be doing it for shares anyway, but work out how much you want each 6 months or 3 months for your lifestyle, right? Into the future, especially retirees. And with bonds, you can lock that in, right? And that way you can sleep at night, right? Especially in turmoil.
Yeah, it is interesting. What you're basically saying is with bonds, you can actually work out the dollar expected return, and it's going to be there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be there. And I guess your argument would be, if you want to play equities, that becomes like the risk play. And that can be either a cream or it could be a loss.
Exactly, and that's where you've got to work out, because a lot of people, when they're retiring, they don't have the ability to go back into the workforce and supplement, their retirement income, etc. Or if they do, they're not earning what they used to earn, and they don't want it really if you're retired. And bonds it's the difference between shares and bonds. The primary difference is with bonds, it's an obligation by the company, right? So you're the banker to the bank, effectively, if it's a bond by a bank. So you loan them money and they pay you back, and it's a legal obligation, they have to pay you back your principal.
Yeah, unless they go broke. I guess that's one of the issues that you guys always have to weigh up when you're saying, let's jump into a bank bond. You have to say, well, this bank is really safe. We're happy to run with that.
Well, it's funny because it's not like shares where you look at, oh, is the business growing, etc. With a bond, you say, okay, I'm going to get my money back in, say, 5 years' time. Can the organisation, right, say it's a bank or a Telstra, and there's Telstra bonds out there, you're talking about Telstra earlier, will they be able to pay their money back then? Now, they don't have to be making a profit or whatnot. They've got a legal obligation to pay you. So they're going to stop paying shareholders their dividends before they stop paying the bondholders. Right? And it's really important distinction so that you know that you're going to get your money back.
And I guess the most recent one was the BHP bond.
Yeah.
And that was actually an amazingly low interest rate, wasn't it?
It was, and that was very
not for international standards, but for Australian standards.
Well, that's the thing. For Australian standards, it was, but it was dealt in the international market. Right? And we're not really comparing apples with apples.
No, because it was about 3.3 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is a great return in
if
Germany
you're in America. That's a great return. But the average bond over here, you could be looking at yields of about 7% or so.
Okay, well, I'm going to ignore the chart because you're going to come back other times. The important thing, I think, is people would like to believe that they want to get at least 5%. That would be the mentality of people out there, because they think, well, I can get a whole lot of really good companies where I can get 5%. My capital can go up and down. Is it easy to get a guaranteed 5% return or more in bonds?
If you know what you're doing, yes, it is. Right, and there's various types of repayment schedules, right? So you can have fixed rate. So if you think interest rates are going to go lower, and a lot of people at the moment are,
I think so.
You can lock in your interest rate right now. So no matter what interest rates do later, if they keep falling, unlike your money in your bank account, you can lock in that rate, and you'll always get paid that amount of money. Now, if you think interest rates are going to go up, right, and you're contrarian at the moment, you can lock in a floating rate. And as interest rates go up, you get paid more and more. There's even ones out there, and some really good ones at the moment, which are inflation linked. So a lot of people are worried about this bubble inflation. It's trying to, the RBA is trying to juggle that. But you can get ones that are, you can get like 4% over the current inflation rate. So at the moment, like 6.5% or something like that. And if inflation shoots through the roof, so will your payments.
And are there risks with those ones that add in the adjustment for inflation?
No, not well. There's risks in everything you do.
But what high level risk, low level risk? Okay,
high level risk is that the company itself would not be able to pay its financial obligations. So as a bondholder, if if I have a bond of you and you don't pay me, I can wind you up. Right. And you stop. You don't play anymore. Where with shareholders, a company can stop paying dividends, and in the crisis, a lot of banks reduce their dividends. Half the companies around town, they just stop paying dividends, right? Because they don't have to, right? Where with bonds, you have to make good on your payments.
Okay. Well, but we're out of time now. But as I say, I want to get people very comfortable with bonds and strategies. And that's what we'll look at. Strategies next time you come on the program.
Okay, great.
Cheers, mate. Good.
Thanks.